Okay, so our next presenter, North Alabama Fabricating Company. So Jason Ramsey currently serves as IT manager for North Alabama Fabricating Company, NAFCO, a $60 million a year steel fabricator. And in this role, he's responsible for Adept administration and all technology-related items company-wide. Jason has over 20 years' experience working in technology-related fields. And prior to joining NAFCO in 2018, he served as IT admin for CBS 42 News in Birmingham, Alabama, and director of technology for the Renaissance Hotel and Montgomery Convention Center in Montgomery, Alabama. Jason, please join us.
So thank you for that. I guess the first thing I want to ask is, what if you never had to spend time helping someone find data? And what if they knew where every document that they needed was located? Well, we've already gone over that. Some of you would be without a job. So we'll move on past that. But imagine that people could find their data all by themselves. Anyone could find what they needed, wherever it was, whatever it was. Well, that's kind of where I found myself in March 2018. But before we get into that, let me back up just a little bit. Like was just said, my name is Jason Ramsey. I'm the IT manager for North Alabama Fabricating Company, or NAFCO. Trying to think, I had some stuff, but it was what was just said. So first point is I'm a husband to a very lovely lady, the love of my life. I'm actually a father to an 8-year-old son and a 6 and a 4-year-old daughter. That has its own challenges. But really that last point is really who makes me up. In our organization, I'm a Christian, and that really makes up what makes me tick and everything else that we're going to talk about with our company. How I interact with people. The other jobs are just how people see me. But I am loved because I was loved first. So that really kind of permeates throughout our whole organization. Last year I actually sat in Adept 2018 just to see if it was a product that we wanted to go with. It's right where some of y'all are sitting right now, and I know others in here that are on the platform can probably remember back to that as well. I've already talked that I am in IT and have a technical background, so in reality what that means is I'm just a nerd. But who else is a nerd? Anyone? Sweet, we can unite. We will conquer all. But, don't be shy about that. It's good. But let's think about that. What is something that nerds are stereotypically drawn to? Well, there you go. I'll go somewhere else with it. I would say sci-fi. See, there's more nerds out here than wanted to admit it. I see what's going on here. But, it's also become a little bit of mainstream. But just to prove the point, anyone know what that is? Lord of the Rings. See, I told you, more nerds. We will unite. So the reason I say this is because this is just a symbol. Sci-fi is just a thing that a lot of people get around. But when you think about it, no matter what kind of genre you're in, whatever kind of sci-fi that is, they can all have different plots, characters, challenges, but really most of these stories boil down to one phrase. And that's all it is kill the dragon, get the girl. It's just that simple. there's really just, in most of them, just one problem that our heroes are trying to beat so they can, quote, get the girl. It's the prize at the end. And as a nerd, I can relate to that. I have challenges throughout my day, just like y'all do, in job, in life, and everything, and that can become our dragon. Even some of our coworkers can be that. Please don't look at your coworker and call them a dragon right now. Save that for later tonight during the networking session. But the trick is trying to identify those dragons while still keeping your eye on what the, quote, girl is that you're fighting for. Now, we'll come back to this and circle back here in a little bit, but in March of 2018 is when I started working for NAFCO. And to just tell you a little bit about them so that you know what the company culture is, it was started in 1953 after a young sailor named John Parrish had just returned back from World War II. Mr. Parrish survived the invasion of Normandy and Iwo Jima, and he and his wife started a small detailing company for steel fabricators. Today, the company is run by Mr. Parrish's son, and his grandkids are actually working for the company now, and at some point will take over as the third generation. So with that said, you can tell it's a family business. It always has been, and I don't see any way that's going to change. But on top of being a family business, it's also, it's also a faith-based company, which means it does things a little differently than other people. Some things that guide our business philosophy differ from some of our competitors. One of those small things is, the fact that every year we tithe a minimum of 10% of our profit to charities or parachurch organizations. That's just something that's very valuable to our company culture. So when we talk about making our company more streamlined and efficient and growing it, it's not necessarily for the sake of growing it so that we can have more. It's growing it so that we can give more. It's something that's very near and dear to our hearts. So throughout the years, we've actually added on. Instead of just being a steel detailer, we've actually added on the fact that we can now detail, engineer, fabricate, and install any type of steel structure. We do that through installation and fabrication. We have 2 plants. Our main plant is in Coleman, Alabama, and our secondary miscellaneous plant is in Winfield, Alabama. We also have in-house engineering, but we also have a division of our company named Wolf Point that is an EPC company that a couple of colleagues of mine from that office in Chicago are actually here with us this week. So with that being said, we feel like we're unique kind of in the steel fabrication business because we can be turnkey. Clients can come to us and say, we want this structure built, and we can make it happen for them up to the day that they move into this, they take possession of the structure. So because of that, we've gotten some very unique opportunities recently. So just to kind of show you what we work on, years ago, Kennedy said, by the end of the decade, we're going to put a man on the moon. Well, some people may not know it, but NASA has already started the process of putting a man on Mars. It's the Mission to Mars program. And because of the unique structure that we had, we partnered with NASA, and one of the first things they had to do was test the rockets. You can't send somebody up until you do years of testing. So we helped design, engineer, fabricate, and install the test stands for the hydrogen rockets that will one day take a man to Mars. And we were very proud of that. Also in 2015, we partnered with Auburn University to build what was then and still is the largest scoreboard in college football, or in a college football stadium. And the next one is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Truly a sight to see, and we were one of the many fabricators who were asked to produce pieces for this stadium so that they could build it and make it the great stadium that they wanted it to be. It was through this last one at the stadium that we also got the ability to get work at the Texas Rangers Stadium, and also now the Raiders Stadium that is being built currently in Las Vegas. So now that you hear all that, 2018, March of 2018, I was really nervous in 2018 because when I walked into the company, I walked in as the first full-time dedicated IT personnel. With that came numerous challenges. We didn't have any kind of regulated storage space. It was kind of a free-for-all. Really, there were no formal IT policies. It was whatever the person who was in charge of that area wanted to do. And that caused a lot of conflict in certain areas because we had departments that fought each other on items that they didn't even realize. And some of it would be duplicated. And also with that, we didn't have any future IT build-out plan. There was no look at the future of what our company was going to be like in 5, 10, 15 years. And some of that's hard, but you've got to make a plan because then you know what to change when the plan is wrong. So what this gave us was the fact that a lot of our data was just inaccurate. We didn't know which version of the drawing was correct. We had people who would take drawings and squirrel them away. I know we're the only company who probably does that or had done that, but they would do it just because they wanted control. They didn't want anybody else deleting their stuff, so they wanted it. But it caused a lot of, when I came on board looking at it, caused a lot of issues when we said, well, we have these 4 drawings, and they're all labeled the same revision, and they're all different. Which one is the one we built? Because now we have a customer asking about it, and we don't know what it is. So a lot of this was just a family business growing up. It had been long past time for us to do this. And then looking towards the future of what does that look like? Like, what are we as a company wanting to be going forward? So really, my job turned into process engineering or just find the bottleneck and fix it. You don't read too many project management books without running into that phrase. And that's really what my job became. It became less about IT and more about, hey, we have this. We didn't realize it depended so much on IT or data, so now we need your help to figure out a solution for it. So that leads us into why we chose Adept. Well, the short and sweet answer, I guess, would be that our colleagues at Wolf Point in our Chicago office, several of them had used Adept when it was NFM way back in the day at another, sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody by the way back in the day comment if you used it. But they had used it at another engineering firm that they had and really saw the benefits to it. I honestly didn't even know what it was. And then was presented with emails of, hey, we should be doing this. And those emails were years old. They had been asking about this for years and just never gotten to it. So me and a colleague, me and my boss and one of the gentlemen from our Chicago office came to Adept 2018 and sat through it. Listened to everybody, went to training, and when we got back, our CEO asked me the next day. I flew back on Friday. He asked me the next morning when I saw him on Saturday morning, is this what you think it is, and is it what they're telling us it is? And my answer was, absolutely it is. I mean, there's just no way around it. There's no reason I should sugarcoat. It's exactly what they say it is, and it's something that will drastically help you. It will also completely change the way that we interact with data. And that's a great thing because the way we did it, and in some cases still do it, is really horrible. So without hesitation, he looked at me and said, then let's do it. Find out how much it is. So we had a ballpark, but quickly that conversation turned into, oh, and there's a caveat with that too. Because of our financial situation in our company this year, in 2018, the CEO, we have to make it happen this year, which means we have to plan, design, install, train, and implement a whole new database structure on top of a new virtual storage system because we don't have one that will hold this. And we had just under 3 months to do it. So when we got to it, we got it done. So Dragon 1, we killed. But it wasn't without consequences. That 3 months was really challenging for us. We went through a lot of time where we did not understand a lot about the product that we needed to. We were very nervous. We were very concerned. As a somewhat new employee of the company, I had just okayed something that cost, honestly, the company a lot of money. So is this really going to work out? Because I put my name on it. Well, in mid-December, after we had gone to admin training, Jeffrey came on site with us to implement in mid-December. And within half a day of him being there, we knew we had made the right choice. We were confident. I knew that things were going to go the way that we had planned for them to. The other point is, I don't know how other people implement the product. I would just tend to say, don't do it that quickly. We'll leave it at that. So now that we had the hurdle behind us for implementation, we had the easy part, right? That's what we thought. We've got the system. Everybody use it. Okay, so just remember we're talking about a family-owned company that's been in business for 60 plus years. And sometimes we refer to some people in the company as the, quote, new generation. The problem is some of those people that we consider new generation have been working for our company for 20 plus years. So we have a lot of history to make up for. But we quickly realized we didn't get this way overnight. This wasn't a, oops, we took our eye off for a week and somehow we screwed everything up. So we decided we wanted to make a plan so that we could implement this in a feasible way that when we looked 5 and 10 years down, it was correct. Not in the fast way that would get us up and running so that when we looked back, we thought about all the, wow, we should have done it this way. Sometimes that leads to analysis paralysis, but sometimes you really have to think through that. And we found ourselves in that way. The good news for us, I'll go through this, is that our Wolf Point office was starting a brand new project that was big for our company. And they wanted to start using Adept to manage all of the documents for that. That actually sped up our time frame. We were trying to take it a little slower, but quickly realized that was the perfect opportunity because they were already familiar with it and already knew some about the product, so that there were going to be some challenges, but we could overcome those. So with that, Dragon number 2 was killed. And, we thought we would go on and on like this, knocking out items, just one by one. And we tried to make action items that we knew were attainable by everybody, but that would also keep us moving toward what we knew was possible one day. And then the bottom fell out. So June 10th of 2019, to be precise, we came in. It was just like any other Monday. But quickly, mid-morning, things went downhill. It became clear to us fast in numerous ways that we had just been hit by ransomware. What the week turned into after that was, in essence, pure chaos. And remember, bad data management practices are even worse when you have ransomware. But on that same day in June, the Baltimore Sun published this article. And it was talking about the city of Baltimore, who had 5 weeks before then been hit by ransomware. And at this point, they were projecting $18.2 million in damages by this ransomware attack. Now, that's the kind of thing that really can do in a lot of companies, even some that are financially stable. What we quickly realized is the same strain of ransomware that Baltimore had been dealing with had just hit our entire network and was starting to devour our system. So even though we have a good backup structure that we had just put in place, thank goodness, the problem is the bad actors, kind of what the FBI calls them, they're getting really good at this. So it not only damaged our network file share infrastructure, but it also damaged admin credentials, which caused us to not be able to roll things back the way that you saw planned. We knew what we needed to do if we got attacked, and when we went to do that, it didn't work. So it's a real eye-opening experience of how to get this done. Now, I didn't sleep much that night, and then the next day I was in a meeting with the CEO and a bunch of other upper management, and they were talking about what was going on, and I was, let's be honest, I was on my computer looking at stuff, and I was in and out of the conversation at best. But I do remember our CEO looking at me and saying, "What is one good thing you can tell me?" And again, I credit my lack of sleep with being a little smart aleck, but I looked at him and said, "Everything you had in Adept was fine." Problem is, it really wasn't the answer they were looking for. But it proved a good point, because after the meeting, he pulled me aside and said, "I understand what you're saying. As soon as we're through with this, you have to push everybody to get into that system." Because at that point, marketing slogans, things I could tell him about the way the system worked, anything else, it didn't matter. Because now it was the continuity of his company that we were dealing with. And although I had okayed an outlay of money to do this, he did not care. Because the other side of that would be even worse. So it was a very eye-opening experience for what we were doing. So we got through it. We started making plans, and we went a little bit faster than what we wanted to, but the fact that we had the management buy-in, the fact that he now saw why it was so important to us to be on this platform was really us killing dragon number 3. Now we have the support, not that we didn't have it before, but we have even more of a push from our upper management. So due to that push, we've found ways to also handle other items. Items that we never even saw or thought that were going to be coming at us. We had compliancy issues. We have recently gotten into new markets that we never thought we'd be, one of those being clients that deal in commercial space exploration. With that comes all kinds of compliancy issues that we never even thought about. But when we realized, oh, we don't have to outlay more money, we can do this in Adept, we just have to do it a little differently than what we're used to. That became big for us because we could do that fast. We didn't have other build-out times. We didn't have anything that we had to purchase to get to it. So that really led us to customization. I mean, I know that you've seen we're not there yet for true customization. We'd love to be there one day. We'd love to do some of the things that Dow is doing for our users but we're just not there. But we realize that even out of the box, we can customize it to our business so that we can use the software the way we want it, not just use it as how somebody says, oh, you click here 4 times and you get it done. And seeing that flexibility has already started buying in some of the naysayers. Some of the people who have said, we're not going to do this. We have people who are looking at retirement in 5 years. Why do they want to learn something new? But when we show them how easy it is to actually get their job done and get information from other people that they normally have to ask for, they're sold. It is a little training, but they understand. On top of that, not only getting into new products, we're also finding that data compliancy is changing in the IT space rapidly. There's a base level of this is just what security is. But especially in the government space, in anything that the government touches, CUI for data, controlled unclassified information, is huge. It's the biggest thing out there right now, and they are, I'm going to use the word militant for the government, but they're pretty passionate about how you handle their data and who you're giving it to. We realized quickly that in Adept that we can look at whoever that is whenever we want to, not just know that, oh, well, only so many people have access to it in a traditional file share. So really, where does that leave us going forward in the future at NAFCO? Well, we continue to plan to, or we are planning to get more and more data into it. We are looking at it not just for drawings, but also across our organization. We already have some accounting, estimating, obviously engineering, but we're going to continue that process. We're also looking at data replication at our other offices, and possibly, it was talked about earlier, possibly even doing replication data overseas for third-party contractors. That's something that we're kind of working through and testing to see if that's where we're going to go with it, but it's absolutely on the table. Really, the whole thing is we continue to look through it as a process engineering. How do we make our company better? Looking at our whole company and just seeing where workflows can help us and we can streamline the process. So, oops. I'm sorry, I forgot to click these. So really, as we look through that, Adept really for us, it's not really a destination of where we want to go. It's really an end, or as the nerds would call it, we'll just keep killing all the dragons to get the girls. So, any questions? Sorry.
Hello, Jason. Thank you. That was well stated. With your company, I assume you do a lot of your own detail engineering design for those structures. Let's say I'm the customer or the client, and I'm giving you a series of general arrangements or drawings to start with. How do you manage that outside document separately from your inside documents, if you understand my question?
I do. I wish I understood the answer too. Remember, I'm IT. So Justin, who's over here from our Wolf Point office, he actually asked the question earlier about the third party. And that's something we're looking at. When we get documents too, up until now, we've had just a traditional FTP. That is way past its prime. It's way past where we needed it to be. So in essence, we get them however we can, which is not the best practice. But as we're giving them back to them, we're trying to up that security of, hey, how does this look? We don't have a clear answer for that. It's not really something that we say, this is what we landed on, this is how we're going to go. But when they send them to us, it can be through, if it's government or some other group, they could provide us a link to their download center. I guess, is that what you're asking? Or
In a way, I understand that part, but let's say you internally are designing all your detailed drawings. You're going to have a drawing number system, a title block, however you're populating the Adept database or data cards. I, as the outside customer, I'm sending you a document, and I'm sure you're not mandating that I use your standard in your system. So I'm giving you a series of drawings with my drawing numbers on, whatever I'm calling that. So now you are importing something different from your in-house standards. And I'm trying to understand how you may be managing that information. And maybe you can't answer that, and you're all.
I can answer it partially. So yes, I understand what you're saying. But in reality, we just demand everybody do what we want to do. And they all do it, right? Like that's standard. You do what I say so. No, it's actually, and I might let Justin actually talk about this. The group that we rolled this out for is a large organization, and I know Justin and his team went back and forth with them over a title block design. And once they landed on a title block for that system, he gave it to me, and we just set up the extraction for it. So every time I think that's right. Yes, no, maybe so.
That's correct for our title block for the project that meets the client standards with their drawing number or contract number on the title block we use. But the way I think maybe this will answer your question, that we handle the documents coming in from a customer that's part of the project documents, we'll have either an attribute for their document number itself, and then we have our own document number that we use internally for us to understand. So in the data card, whether it's a document of our own or provided to us, we have extra fields where we can put the client's number in that same data card and also our own number if we so choose, so that we can look for it either way. And then if we find a drawing and say, oh, we found it through our drawing number or that we assign to it, we can also see what the client's number is also on the data card.
We have to do it a similar way, and I asked that question because roles are reversed a little bit. From what I was talking about before, I contract a lot of your type of companies to do this work. Now I'm trying to see how you react to what I'm sending you. That was a reason for my asking the question.
I kind of thought you were going there. But yeah, we would use your number because we need that cross-referencing going on. Yeah.
I would tend to say that coming from the IT standpoint, once they got that figured out, we set up the extraction. For me, I felt like that was the easy part because they had days and weeks of going back and forth with the client, figuring out what needed to be where. I would tend to say that our CEO would tell you that if you were paying us money, we'll figure it out and make it happen. But I'm putting words in his mouth, I guess.
All right. Thank you so much.
One more over here.
Oh, we got one more?
I guess it's more of a curiosity, but what is it about Adept that saved your data during the ransomware?
The fact that ransomwares traditionally, and again, this is traditional, that they spread through network file shares. That's how they do their damage. You can even do how to get around that? We'll just say that it was network file shares, and because there's nothing in the vault that is shared out as a file share to that system, it's locked down and that virus can't see those. Normally it infects one system, and if that person has 4 file shares, it goes into those file shares, and anybody connected to it, it just continues to spread. And that's just because Adept is not set up that way, it keeps it separated.
I'd just like to add to that whole issue we had with the ransomware attack, that if we didn't have that big project in Chicago completely contained within Adept, that probably would have sunk the project for us completely and could have ruined the company potentially, because it's a really large contract for us. And we couldn't afford a schedule delay to rebuild all those design files.
Yeah.
Thank you.